Indeed, counterfeit businesses are a fact of life in today's world. It's becoming more common in the crowded technology sector, where different businesses, smartwatches, smartphones, and tablets have begun to mirror their competitors closely. However, copycat enterprises may work and be quite successful in other areas if done legally. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Thank you for joining us. Today, we will be speaking about 6 times smartphone companies gained millions by cloning others. Stick till the end and watch the entire video to get all the details. Also, remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the bell notification. Alright then, let's get started. Corporate boards and business schools may emphasize innovation. However, when it comes to starting a business, it may be that refining an existing idea is both easier and more successful than developing something from scratch. It's usually simpler to develop an existing concept when establishing a firm, stated Paul B. Brown, co-author of the book Just Start, published by Harvard Business Review Press. In many respects, imitation leads to innovation, said digital strategist and marketer Ross Simmonds. In business, we see it always, with organizations that appear out of nowhere with minor changes. After all, Starbucks, for example, did not originate from a coffee shop. But where was it that you first requested a grande coffee? Here are 6 examples of smartphone corporations that gained millions by cloning others. Number 1. Xiaomi cloned Apple. It was in 2014 that Apple's chief design officer, Jony Ive, coined the word theft to characterize what Xiaomi was brilliant at. When it comes to Mi smartphones, China's Xiaomi is frequently the focus of those who feel it is adept at mimicking competitor Apple. It's a straight inquiry presented to Xiaomi co-founder and president Bin Lin. Lin and others at the firm insist on distinctions, despite a user experience that is strikingly similar to Apple's. Today, the Chinese smartphone manufacturer is worth more than $45 billion and ranks 6th worldwide. Xiaomi ceased providing yearly sales data in 2016. However, revenue in 2015 was $12.5 billion. It has set a sales target of $14.5 billion for 2017. In the case of Apple, whose fiscal year finishes in September, the Cupertino, California-based company's sales in 2015 were $234 billion. Number 2. Huawei cloned Apple. Another Chinese firm unveiled a dirt-cheap iPhone clone, and it was even dubbed the Plus model. Chinese smartphone manufacturer Huawei has officially shown their Android phone, and it looks strangely familiar. The Honor 6 Plus, the company's follow-up to the Honor 6, has a 5.5-inch 1080p screen, exactly like Apple's similarly called iPhone 6 Plus. There's also a visual similarity in terms of design. Check out the Huawei Honor 6 Plus below. It has similar-sized bezels above and below the screen to the iPhone, and the only difference appears to be the absence of a home button. It was also offered in black, gold, and white silver, similar to the iPhone 6 Plus. Although the two phones appeared identical, there are some substantial changes in other hardware features. While both have 8-megapixel primary cameras, the new Huawei phone, like the HTC One M8, has a dual lens on its camera that allows you to refocus photographs after they've been recorded. The Honor 6 Plus also boasted a bigger battery and an octa-core CPU than the iPhone 6 Plus. For example, 8 cores instead of 4 like the iPhone 6 Plus. Because it has multiple cores, the CPU should be able to do more tasks at once. There was also a significant pricing difference. The Huawei 6 Plus costs $320 unsubsidized, while the iPhone 6 Plus launched at $650. Number 3. Samsung and Apple. Apple and Samsung ultimately settled their long-running patent dispute in 2018, with the fundamental question being whether Samsung cloned the iPhone. Judge Lucy Koh stated in a court filing Monday that the two firms had told her that they had reached an agreement. The settlement terms were not disclosed. The patent case began in 2011 and concluded in a $1 billion verdict in favor of Apple. But it did not stop there. A succession of appeals drove the case to the Supreme Court and back, as the businesses argued about whose patents were violated and, most recently, how much money Samsung owed Apple as a result of the violation. The case centered on various design and utility patents for fundamental smartphone functionality such as tap to zoom and the home screen app grid. While the case was waged over individual patents, the fundamental question was whether Samsung copied Apple in the early days of smartphones to acquire an advantage. The jury determined that it had in numerous ways. As Apple points out, money was never a problem here, and the quantities suggested never amounted to anything significant for either business. Over the years, neither corporation was prepared to break and stop such a symbolically significant war. Perhaps they no longer cared enough to see this through after many years and some leadership changes. Apple and Samsung had another big patent struggle, which began in 2014 but was not resolved until 2017. In that instance, Apple was awarded $120 million for infringement of its slide to unlock patent. The two corporations were also involved in international patent disputes, but they agreed to settle the cases in 2014. With the conclusion of both these lawsuits, the apparently interminable, occasionally dramatic, and frequently exceedingly technical war between these two smartphone behemoths is officially finished, at least till the next one arrives. Both Apple and Samsung gained millions by sales even when the patent cases were going on, but Apple ultimately had the final laugh. Number 4. Asus cloned Apple. Cloning the iPhone is not uncommon, particularly from an obscure Asian company. There are so many fakes created before and after the debut of a new iPhone that they're no longer worth writing about, even if they're perfectly constructed clones. What is unique is a well-known tech company going out and openly boasting about creating an iPhone X clone that runs Android. It was the situation when Asus unveiled the Zenfone 5. Compare the two devices and see if you can identify the difference. What is the difference between the iPhone X and the Zenfone 5? The Zenfone 5 has a smaller notch, unless you're a phone nerd. Do you care? Nobody is preoccupied with a smaller notch. The essential phone, the tiniest notch of any major smartphone, should have been more popular. When you flip the Zenfone 5 over, the rear is a carbon replica of the iPhone X. Take a look at how the twin cameras are positioned vertically. You'd think Asus would at least make the iPhone X's least appealing aspects like the massive camera bulge less noticeable, but nope, they just replicated it, flaws and all. There are several ways to build a rectangular slab of glass and metal in terms of design. Even with the aim of edge-to-edge screens in mind, there are more choices than just adding a minor forehead notch and removing the headphone port. Android smartphone producers should not give up on developing designs and features that set them apart from the competition. Number 5. Huawei and Motorola. Motorola has sued Huawei for allegedly stealing trade secrets. According to the complaint, 5 of Motorola's former employees shared trade secrets with Lemco, a wireless technology competitor at that time. Motorola later amended the complaint, accusing the defendants of conspiring with Huawei. According to the complaint, at least part of an email chain has been recovered that confirms that, at Huawei's request, defendant Xiaomi Pan transmitted proprietary and confidential Motorola specifications for the Motorola SC300 base station to Ren Zhengfei and Xinglong Yu, Huawei's vice president of wireless communications, in March 2003, and that a meeting and an agreement for the transfer of Motorola's proprietary information did take place. By 2011, Huawei had filed a lawsuit to prevent Motorola from disclosing its intellectual property to Nokia Siemens. Nokia Siemens was set to acquire Motorola's wireless network at that time. As a result of a previous licensing agreement between Huawei and Motorola, some of Huawei's intellectual property would have gone to Nokia Siemens. Both companies issued a joint statement a few months after Huawei's lawsuit. It was stated that both companies had settled the lawsuits. As a result, Motorola agreed to pay a fee to Huawei to allow Nokia to use the disputed IP. Motorola too agreed to drop the charges against Huawei. Huawei sued ZTE in Germany, France, and Hungary the same year. Huawei claimed that ZTE had violated several of its patents related to data cards and LTE. The company also alleged that ZTE had used an unregistered Huawei trademark on some of its data card products. ZTE filed a countersuit against Huawei in China for LTE copyright violations the next day. Huawei gained millions, whereas Motorola is not even in the picture nowadays. And number 6. OnePlus and Apple. OnePlus, like most other smartphone manufacturers, has a history of ripping off Apple's iPhone designs. The idea of Android vendors emulating Apple's iPhone designs is not novel. But last year's OnePlus 5 stands out because it was one of the most obvious iPhone knockoffs we've seen in a long time. In a nutshell, the OnePlus 5 was an Android-powered iPhone 7 Plus. OnePlus had the same design as Apple, but it also copied Apple's software design elements, such as the camera UI. That was especially ironic, given that the OnePlus 5 also copied the iPhone 7 Plus's dual-lens rear camera, using the second lens for the same features as Apple's iPhone, optical zoom, and a portrait mode effect. Well, that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.